Welcome to Overcoming Shame by Greg Bancroft, where we use the language and metaphors of baseball to strike out the toxic shame in everyday life. Today's episode is Volume 2, Number 10. Simple, not easy. Now, just because something is simple does not make it easy. For example, to go from a 250 hitter to a 300 hitter requires one more hit per week. That's all. So if a player gets, say, 3 at bats in a given game, and there are 6 games in a given week, that's 18 at bats, but let's call it 20 just for simple math's sake. To determine batting average, you take the number of hits divided by the number of at bats. So if you had 5 hits in our 20 game sample, that would be a 250 average. Pretty good, not bad. About average in Major League these days. But to go from that 250 to a 300 batting average would take one more hit per week. So out of those 6 games, instead of getting 5 hits, you would need to get 6 hits. One hit per game, every game, all season long. It's simple, but it's not easy. The hardest thing to do in all of sports is to hit a round ball with a round bat. So if you look at your baseball, the sweet spot is right there. Just that little dot, about the size of a dime. And you have to line up that sweet spot with the sweet spot on a bat. The bat is roughly the size of your lower arm and your little finger stretched along there. You have to line up this sweet spot with this sweet spot and put it where nobody's standing. Otherwise, they'll catch it or they'll scoop it up and they'll throw you out. Simple, not easy. To do it one time every night for 6 nights in a row, week in and week out, would get you a 300 batting average. Very difficult to do. Simple, but very difficult. So with that in mind, keep also this in mind. The ball is traveling from the pitcher's mound to the hitter at about 100 miles an hour. It takes about half a second to get from the pitcher's mound to the batter's box. That's 1-1. If a typical second is measured as 1/1000, 1/1 is basically half a second. So within that half a second, the batter has to decide, am I going to swing in this ball or not? And twist his hips, extend his arms, roll his wrists, and line up those 2 sweet spots and put it where somebody is not so that they can get safely onto base. Well, the pitcher is throwing this ball into the size of roughly a carry-on suitcase, 17 inches wide and basically your waist down to your knees, at 100 miles an hour, and it's curving in, it's curving out, it's curving up, it's curving down. Sometimes it's even floating, in which case the batter's rhythm is thrown off a little bit. And all of that's happening within a fraction of a second. And you're trying to line up those 2 sweet spots. Now, to me, the fact that anybody ever hits a ball is just astonishing, let alone hit it safely one time every game, and every game, every day, all season long. Mind-boggling. No wonder the person would get into the Baseball Hall of Fame with a 300 batting average, huh? Well, simple does not make it easy. To mend a broken relationship, for example, all it takes is for both parties to admit fault, express sorrow, ask for forgiveness, maybe even a commitment to do something different in the future, to change directions, use new words, make amends of some kind. Simple, right? Not easy. Each offers forgiveness, usually some kind of reconciliation, like a hug, and maybe accompanied by tears. Again, simple, not easy. I've known people estranged from others in their family for years, maybe even decades, because they couldn't say, I'm sorry. They couldn't make reconciliation. They couldn't make amends. If communication broke down, that's okay. I often say to people that no conversation is ever fully ended. You can always revisit it. You can come back and say, you know, I'd like to add more to our conversation. I didn't like the way the last one ended. I don't want to be separated from you. Undoubtedly, depending on the circumstances, this could be a very difficult task. Even though it might be simple to do, it could be very difficult. No matter how simple the actual words or activity might indicate, again, simple does not mean easy. As in baseball, so too in life. Progress, not perfection, is the rule. Little steps made consistently are what matter. Not many conversations are completely over. Nothing is so broken that it can't be fixed, especially in a relationship. And note, by fixed, I don't mean made perfect, okay? Some things may never be normal again, and in fact, people may remain separated. That's okay. But the anger, the resentment, the fear, the disappointment can all be released, thus releasing others to move on with life. Progress, not perfection. That's the baseball way. And it seems to be a pretty good life philosophy.